Today on the Jason Wright Show, we are going to be talking a little bit of Stoic philosophy as it relates to Seneca's letters from a Stoic, which was his collection of letters to his protege, Lucilius. Let's go. Hey, folks, I want to tell you about Authentic Health. Authentic Health is the sponsor of the Jason Wright Show today, and also Authentic Health is a company that I am the co-founder of. Why? Well, you know that on my mission to improve always, and to stay as young biologically as possible, I do everything I can. I exercise every single tool at my disposal to make sure I get to stay healthy, both mentally, physically, and a big part of that was by partnering with my friend, Dr. Gus Vickery, and my other friend, Dr. Troy Jackson, and creating Authentic Health. Our first product that we have just launched is the foundational stack. That's F1, F2, F3. F1 is going to give you your essential nutrients. F2 is going to give you your essential fats. F3 is going to give you your essential amino acids. And here's the beautiful thing. It is only a 3-bottle stack that you can take that will cover all your bases and get you to the next level. It is literally designed to help fill all the deficits that we just don't get from our food these days, but also is to help protect against the toxins that are in our water, in the air, that are in the grass that we walk in. It is made to protect and not only just make you better, but also to help you to excel beyond what is just good enough. These are products that were designed based on how our bodies were designed at the cellular level. I am so very proud to be a part of this amazing company with these amazing partners designing and creating incredible products to help you, my listener, as well as myself, stay healthier and live longer and really dial in on health span, not just lifespan. So please, if you are interested in better health, then go out to shopauthentichealth.com and you can order your 3-bottle stack right now, the foundational stack. And if you use promo code Jason, you're going to get 10% off your first order. So check it out right now, shopauthentichealth.com. Order the foundational stack. You'll be glad you did. Now enjoy the show. So the thing I love about Stoic philosophy is that it deals with how to react to life. Instead of trying to think about what things life can give you to make you happier in the form of material goods or jobs or status or anything like that. Instead, it teaches that no matter where you are, it's how you react that determines whether you are happy or sad, rich or poor, healthy or sick. It has this way of giving so much more agency to the human being than most people realize that they actually possess. And one of my favorite books on Stoic philosophy, which isn't really a book at all, it's a collection of letters, and it's called Letters from a Stoic. These are letters that were written from Seneca to Lucilius Jr. Seneca playing the role of the mentor. Lucilius was his protege. And in the book, in the collection of letters, you see this back and forth dialogue between mentor and mentee, and it's just chock full of applicable wisdom. And I recommend it to anyone. And there's one of the things in the second letter that Seneca is writing to Lucilius, and he's actually writing from he takes something from Epicurus, which is somebody that was basically Epicurean philosophy and thought is to basically, it's decadence. It's enjoy whatever you can from life. It's a life should be based on pleasure. And so it's in stark contrast to Stoicism. But in this particular section, Seneca, and he makes note of it, that don't think that just because I'm quoting Epicurus that I have gone to the enemy camp, but instead I have read his writings as reconnaissance. It's to figure out, is there something that I can learn from someone who I disagree with? And it turns out that actually there was something very important that stuck with Seneca that he passes on to Lucilius that I think we can all learn from, especially in this day and age of hypermaterialism and and status that is so driven by social media and just entertainment and pop culture in general. And here's what it says. It says, a cheerful poverty, he says, is an honorable state. But if it is cheerful, it's not poverty at all. So what I think that Epicurus was saying, that Seneca was agreeing with and passing on to Lucilius, was that if you are happy and if you're full of joy, even if you don't have the nicest house, maybe you don't have that much food, maybe you are, by all economic standards, you're actually poor or in poverty, but you're able to find happiness and joy through family, relationships, laughter, writing, whatever the case may be, then are you really in poverty at all? If all of a sudden your wealth has shifted from only being driven by external influences and external material things, and instead it's based more on internal enjoyment and pleasure, and that's where you find your wealth, then really are you in poverty at all? And immediately I thought of a scene from one of my favorite movies in the whole world. It's A Christmas Carol by Charles Dickens. And every year I watch this one version of A Christmas Carol. It's the TNT version of it. The reason why I watch it is because it came out the year my oldest daughter was born. And so it just has this nostalgic appeal to me, even though there's however many versions of A Christmas Carol out there. But this is the one we watch every year. And there's one scene where I guess it's the ghost of Christmas Present takes Ebenezer Scrooge to Bob Cratchit's home. And you see it's a small home. And this family has a lot of kids. Of course, there's Tiny Tim there. He's crippled. They're poor. And Martha, the oldest daughter, she has to take one day off. She works through the night. I think it says in the movie that she slept in the factory so that she could get her work done and be there on Christmas Day. I mean, being able to get off work for Christmas Day was like this huge deal. Even Bob Cratchit, he has to take this lecture from Ebenezer Scrooge about how he's basically stealing from Ebenezer Scrooge by getting paid for his Christmas Day off. But when this family comes together, you see them around the table with what the mom has made as their Christmas dinner, and it's small. It's like this little bitty goose, and she tells Bob Cratchit how she was able to save enough money and get this particular goose that was not very big, and they have a fig pudding, and it's just kind of this tiny little meal by any feast standards. But everyone's happy. They are so full of joy. They're laughing, and even Ebenezer Scrooge, he even makes a comment about, well, no one seems to be complaining, and the Ghost of Christmas Present says no Cratchit would ever dare to complain. But the bigger point is this, is that in that moment, even though by every economic measure, Bob Cratchit's family is in poverty, they're poor, yet you couldn't look at that scene. You can't watch it and think to yourself, they are a poor family. They're happy. They're full of joy. And I love this part of this particular letter because I think that we live in a time now where we get to see not only how well everyone is doing, but how well everyone is able to pretend to be doing. I remember when I was growing up in the 80s and the 90s, and we knew who the rich people in town were because of their house and their cars. We knew where they lived. I lived in a small town, so you kind of knew where everybody lived. And so you saw their house, you knew what their parents drove, and you knew who had money, and you knew who didn't, and you knew who was just kind of normal. But you didn't really know anything beyond that. In fact, I remember we never knew where our friends went on vacation. As I'm thinking about this now, I never knew where my friends went on vacation, ever. I mean, unless you happened to ask them, you didn't know. Now we know where all of our friends go to dinner, where they vacation, where they hang out at night, what their house looks like, what their wardrobe looks like, what their car looks like, what their parents' cars look like. We know what their entire life looks like, and we can put a price tag on it. And if it exceeds our own, then somehow we think we're less than, we're doing without. We now know what everyone has, and everyone is jockeying for status. Then you combine that with the fact that the luxury brand companies have jumped onto this and are now marketing towards lower middle class and poor people in ways they never have before, because they know that these people that don't have a lot of money, they will spend their last dime to have that Gucci bag, those Gucci loafers, or whatever, to show status and do what some wealth expert just said recently. I thought it was really great, is that the poor stay poor by trying to look rich, and the rich stay rich by looking poor. And there's so much merit in that statement. But the bigger picture is we don't have to have a lot of stuff to be happy. And that is what Epicurus was making note of. And there's an honor in actually having a little, but in terms of wealth or monetary value, but having great happiness and joy in relationships. I don't think anyone could ever argue that somebody like Mother Teresa was rich. I mean, she was by all means not a wealthy person, yet she led one of the most incredibly rich lives of any human being that's ever lived, or Billy Graham for that matter, or fill in the blank. So many other people that barely had any money whatsoever, but they had happiness and joy. It's kind of like the film Life. What is that? The movie about the World War II family, the Italian family that gets captured. Life is Beautiful, where the father, he ends up creating this game that his family will play throughout the course of being put away in this concentration camp, and bringing happiness into the worst of circumstances. It's something that Viktor Frankl talked a lot about in Man's Search for Meaning, and what he developed into logotherapy. It's this idea that if we can determine that no matter what state we're in, whether it's having a little or a lot, that we can find the purpose in it, and when you can find the purpose in it, then you can start to find joy no matter where you are. I think the Apostle Paul, he talked about in the Bible. He said he knew what it meant to have a lot, to have nothing, and to be content either way. He had determined to just be steady no matter what he had monetarily. And I think that is something that in this particular letter that meant so much to me. And to me, it's what has continued to stand out in Stoic philosophy for me, is that this idea of managing your reaction to life. Life is always going to come at you. It's just like Ferris Bueller said, life moves pretty fast. You better stop every once in a while and smell the roses. Life moves pretty fast, and you better stop and figure out how you are going to react to it. And if you can determine in your mind that no matter what, there's honor in being happy and joyful no matter your circumstance, then life will be better, and you will start to exercise and take agency over your life. Your life will not be so driven and managed by external forces. Instead, it will be more driven from within outward, and you will find more joy and happiness in that. And so it's one of the things I love most about Stoicism. I'm going to take some more from, I'm going to do I think I'm going to do a series going letter by letter and kind of highlighting the things that really had the most impact on me, depending on the letter. But this is the thing that stuck out the most to me. And I mean, just in this first letter, there's so many nuggets. Like, one of the things that I highlighted was about being able to spend time alone with yourself. Seneca says this to Lucilius. He writes, "Nothing to my way of thinking is a better proof of a well-ordered mind than a man's ability to stop just where he is and pass some time in his own company." Think to yourself, how hard is it to just sit and do nothing? Put your phone away. Don't turn the TV on. No music, no nothing. Just raw dog it for a while. Just you and your thoughts. Just get alone and raw dog for a while. Okay? That is something. And then it's like when it comes to reading books, then this is what Seneca passes on to Lucilius. "You should be extending your stay among writers whose genius is unquestionable, deriving constant nourishment from them, if you wish to gain anything from your reading that will find a lasting place in your mind." In other words, only read those writers who you actually trust, that have proven themselves genius, and nourish yourself with them. I love that he used the word nourish. Feed your mind. Nourish your mind. And Don't be skipping from book to book to book, but take one book. Like, I'm probably reading this for the third or fourth time because I've started trying to do this, to take really good books that have that were written by geniuses that have stood the test of time and really nourish my mind with them. Naval Ravikant, he says the same thing, that we shouldn't be so obsessed with trying to read a ton of books, which I do. I will admit, I want to read a ton of books. I want to learn everything. But what I realize as I get older is we have a finite amount of time. And so before it's all said and done, I want to be able to get to an old age where I can take at least a handful of books and know them extremely well. And that's what Naval Ravikant says. He's like, don't try to read a bunch of books. Find a few really, really good and meaningful books and read them over and over and over and over. And I can tell you that one of those books for me is Seneca's Letters from a Stoic. I hope you'll grab it. I hope you will continue to improve always and always. Please leave me some comments. Please click like or subscribe. Thank you so much for listening to The Jason Wright Show. I'm out. Well, that does it for this episode of The Jason Wright Show. Thank you so much for listening. This has been a Texas Titan Media production. Fourth Wall did the music. And as always, thank you so much for listening. Please consider going out to jasonwrightnow.com and signing up for the Vitruvian Letter. Also, please go out to iTunes. It takes like 30 seconds to just leave us a 5-star rating. It does wonders for the podcast. I would be so grateful. And with that, until we meet again, go crush it and endeavor to improve always in all ways. I'm out.